look at some other equations now that are not of quadratic nature. So that means they have a degree higher than 2. First part, polynomial equations. X cubed plus x squared minus 9x minus 9 equals 0. Polynomial equations in this section we're going to solve by factoring. And how do we factor these? How many terms? Always count your terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 terms. That means we have to factor by grouping. Grouping, we divide the terms in half, and we factor the first 2 terms, and then we factor the last 2 terms. X cubed plus x squared, what is in common? The GCF is an x squared. That leaves me with x plus 1. Don't forget the 1. Now the second set is negative 9x minus 9. They have in common a 9, but you got to carry this negative down with you. So you factor out a negative 9, and when you factor out a negative 9, you're left with x plus 1 equals 0. And when you factor by grouping, the parentheses, of course, they have to be the same. If they're not the same, you're doing something wrong, so pay attention to that. So x plus 1 is now my GCF. I factor that out, and then whatever's not underlined is my second factor. Now, my mini factors, I have to set each of them equal to 0. Or if you recognize x squared minus 9, this actually could be factored further. It's a difference of 2 squares. So you can either factor it further and solve it that way, or you can use square root property that you have learned when you solve quadratic equation. I want to use square root property here. So we're setting each mini factor equal to 0. X squared minus 9 is equal to 0. Bring the 1 to the other side. That's x equals negative 1. And we bring the 9 to the right-hand side. X squared equals 9. Square root property means you take the square root of both sides. X equals, do not forget, one of the most common mistakes, you need plus minus 3. So you have 3 answers here. You have a negative 1, you have a negative 3, and you have a positive 3. Let's do one other problem by factoring. We have this polynomial 5m cubed equals 5m. Set it equal to 0. Bring the 5m to the left-hand side, and then factor out the greatest common factor. 5m in this case, and we have an m squared minus 1 left. And now I'm going to show you how to do the difference of squares here. M squared can be factored as m minus 1 and m plus 1. Then you can really see why you got a plus minus here on the other side. And don't forget the 5m. We have 3 factors. Set each factor equal to 0. 5m equals 0, m minus 1 equals 0, and m plus 1 equals 0. The first one divide by 5. 0 divided by 5 is still 0, so m is equal to 0. The second one, bring the 1 to the right-hand side. M is 1, and here we bring a positive 1 to the right-hand side by making it negative, so m is equal to negative 1. 3 solutions. Why 3 solutions? Because the degree is to the 3rd power. That's it. Factoring.